for the money, a two for the show. So buckle up, there's no telling where we're gonna go. A glory and fame, a silver and gold. So call us outlaws, and leave the fortune for the bold. No more hesitating, we're legends in the making. Gravity escaping, light speed breaking. Let's get elevated. Let's get elevated. Oh yeah. A 5-4, a control gun. We're gonna fly. We're headed straight for the sun. 5-4, a control gun. We're gonna fly straight for the sun. No more hesitating. We're legends in the making. Gravity escaping, light speed breaking. Let's get elevated. Let's get elevated. Let's get elevated. Let's get elevated. It's explosive. You can't control this, no. I got metal running through my bones. A resurrection like a ghost. Hurricane, go ahead and blow. Where you could keep your white flag, I'll never fold. A shadow on a battlefield. A survivor, never yield. A thunder, go ahead and shake. Don't run from the storm when I feel the rain. There's no rest for the wicked, no victory for the weak. And when the weeds getting thicker, you'll never see me on my knees. You can't control this, it's explosive. You can't control this, it's explosive. You can't control this, it's explosive. I got a fever in my blood, a falling embers from above. I feel the heat when the pressure blows, a wildfire that you can't control. There's no rest for the wicked, no victory for the weak. And when the weeds getting thicker, you'll never see me on my knees. You can't control this, it's explosive. You can't control this, it's explosive. You can't control this, it's explosive. With every beat of my heart, I'll be the light in the dark. You can't control this, I'm explosive. You can't control this, it's 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 explosive.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. in officially licensed cars engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Our family started RVing a few years ago, and when I think about all those campfires and fishing trips and sporting events, these are memories that are going to last a lifetime. I want to help others do the same thing. Hi, I'm Kevin Smith, General Manager at the all-new CLICKIT RV in Milton Freewater. People in this community are very familiar with this location and the great service they've always received. So the biggest question we get is, where is Keith? The great news is, Keith is still here.
I've seen a lot of changes. I've seen a lot of things come and go. Through all the changes that we have seen, one thing that has not changed for us is the quality of our service.
Buying an RV is a big purchase, but it should be a fun and happy experience. So whether it be in sales or service or parts, our mission is simple: be the best. From our team here at CLICKIT RV in Milton Freewater, we invite you to come down and experience the difference.
Looking to the inside of Turner, trying to make it 3 wide down the back straightaway, nearly does.
Last night the track was very slick. You know, we had 2 good grooves.
Anyway, just another some of that.
There's people in the stands. That means there's people watching.
LSRTV and Siren Sports welcome you tonight for the broadcast coverage of the Northwest CLICKIT RV Fixed Setup Series. And of course, tonight we're at the virtual Homestead-Miami Speedway. The playoffs continue. We're glad you're along for the ride. Good evening. Welcome inside the broadcast booth. I'm Wesley Outland. Jason Rockefeller is alongside. And Jason, we get closer and closer to crowning a champion. However, to do that, tonight, I think the word we'll have to continuously use: precision banking for Homestead-Miami, and who will survive this race if they're one of the playoff drivers to make it into the playoffs for the next round. Good evening, my friend.
Yeah, how's everybody doing? I'm doing well, that's for sure. I'm ready to go here at Homestead-Miami Speedway, one of my favorite tracks on the iRacing service. One of those tracks that feels like it's so wide, it's so large, it's so big, but it's only 1.5 miles, you know, so it's not really all that big. And it's multi-groove. You can run the bottom, you can run the middle, you can run the top. And with these Xfinity Series cars here tonight, Wesley, these things are going to be out of control for sure. You're going to see multiple different lines being used here tonight.
I want to make sure I introduce everybody. I'm Wesley Outland. Jason Rockefeller is alongside. Charles Wooten is the man that does all of this amazing updated creations in the broadcast booth. And, of course, we're ready to rock and roll. This is also in addition to, looking at the point standings, which that'll be popping up here in just a moment. After the crazy race at Richmond Raceway, we set our sights on an event tonight where, honestly, looking at the calendar, Homestead-Miami could be a green flag run. It could be caution field. This is just one of those unique racetracks for the 1.5 miles that you really don't know what we'll see for 200 miles, 134 laps for round 18. What we can say, though, for this, Jason, is it is the final race in the round of 12. If you're one of these drivers that want to get into the next round by virtue of a win instead of points, you got to do it this evening here on the 1.5 miles in Florida.
Yeah, you definitely have to for sure, Wesley. No doubt about it. And obviously now these next 3 weeks coming up are going to be crunch time. This is crunch time, though, for this race in particular, this round in general. Dan West Jr., Sean Brightsman, they've already locked themselves into the next round. So we'll have to see, obviously, how they do tonight. I mean, Dan, he's been on an absolute roll lately. Obviously winning the last handful of races since we came back from the break after Labor Day.
Oh, yeah.
And Sean Brightsman won last time we were here at the Homestead-Miami Speedway. So Sean has the potential to sweep the races at Homestead this season for the CLICKIT RV Fixed Series. So if you're going to want to beat those guys tonight, you're going to have to be on your A game.
And by the way, you mentioned another three. You mentioned Dan West Jr., you mentioned Sean Brightsman. How about Christopher White, a former Northwest Cup Series champion who had to bow out of the Monday program as we now go to on-track activity here to get you set for the race with some qualifying with Ryan Gormley. But Christopher White, one of those drivers, Jason, that had to bow out of the regular Monday series, and now his focus is on the fixed setup series here on Wednesday night. Oh, and by the way, he's in the number 3 seed. He might be 162 points back, but he does have enough, if he can hold on tonight, to transfer into the round of 8.
Oh, yeah, definitely, for sure. But, when you look at the gap all the way from Ryan Bloom, who currently holds that 8th spot, all the way back, up to Chris White, who's got 3,081 points. That gap is not that large. You think about that, Wesley, that's only 9 points. So Chris White needs to have a strong run like he's done here the last few weeks.
You're exactly right. There's a look at the point standings. The top 20 being showed on presented by LSRTV and LiveSimRacingTV.com. But honestly, if you're wanting to watch anything, it's the top 8, because after tonight's race, you've got Devin West, Stephen O'Hare, Frank Harris, and on the bubble, these drivers out. Toby Ritters, Brett Johnson, Devin West, and Stephen O'Harris, who I meant to say. These are guys on the bubble. And honestly, Jason, if I remember correctly, I believe Devin West has got a new work deal on Wednesday. He's now bowing out on the Wednesday series like Christopher White had to do on Monday. Oh, and Devin West has transferred in to the round of 8 for the Monday Truck Series.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate that Devin's not going to be able to be here tonight from the looks of it. So he's already a driver we can cross off here in this round of 12. But, you still have those guys below that cutoff line behind Ryan Bloom. We talk about Toby Ritters. He's been very strong as of recent since the comeback after that long few-month break that we took. Brett Johnson, he's been a driver who's been improving. And then Stephen O'Hare, one of those guys who usually is a very, very strong driver. The fact that he's sitting there in the 12th seed right now kind of baffles me, honestly. But I think if there's any one of those guys tonight who could probably get it down below that cutoff line, I want to say Stephen O'Hare could do that.
And we'll definitely keep an eye on that. And here's a look at the Kaufman Creative weather conditions. It's 80 degrees, track temp in the triple digits at 111 in virtual Miami, Florida, just outside. And it's a 7-mile-per-hour wind speed, clear conditions. It is sunny. It is hot. It might be 80 degrees in October in the sim, Jason, but, man, the track temps are going to be really hot and greasy for sure on these tires.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it. And with the low downforce and the high horsepower with these Xfinity Series cars on this fixed setup, it's going to create a very, very loose race condition. Obviously, the more this track gets rubbered up, the more it's going to help them. But they're also laying down that hot rubber. So this track very well, Wesley, could get hotter as this race progresses. We've talked about the multi-grooves here at the Homestead-Miami Speedway, and obviously you could run the top, the middle, the bottom, but if you're going to run that top lane, especially with it being so hot out on the racetrack compared to the ambient air temperature, you got to make sure you don't get loose on entry or through center, off exit, and hit that wall on the exit of 4 and on the exit of 2.
Let's take a look at the race analysis for tonight's event. Bottom left of the monitor, we kind of hit it on it already. There's been practice done. 2-lap qualifying just about to conclude. I believe it is done. 200 miles on the 1.5-mile precision banking track. That is 134 laps, 3 attempts if necessary of a green-white checker. And again, it is the final race in the round of 12, meaning that when tonight concludes, 8 drivers will be moving on. Real quickly, before the field grids, Charles, let's put the point standings back up on the monitor again. I want to just emphasize on some drivers that are in the cusp of advancing that have showed signs of improvement, Jason. They're just coming up short. And that's Ryan Bloom. Okay. Ryan's dominating in the Monday night series. He won this past Monday night, struggling here in the fixed setup series. He's on the bubble. But you got a guy like Toby Ritters, okay? Toby Ritters, who's on the outside looking in the number 9 seed. No wins, no top 5s, but 7 top 10s. He has come this far to possibly put Clifford and the Win Racing 23 in this spot. Brett Johnson, another driver of late, Jason, that's really improved. Speaking of these guys that are on the outside looking in a couple of spots, 9 and 10, what do they need to do here tonight at here at Homestead-Miami to advance to the round of 8?
Well, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. You just have to run better than the competition. You have to pick up as many points as you can. And I mean, for drivers like Stephen O'Hare, it is practically a must-win situation for that number 21 machine, or 41 machine rather. That is a must-win situation. Devin West, we can already cross him off. Unfortunately, due to his scheduling, he's not able to make it tonight. Brett Johnson and Toby Ritters, I almost want to say, Wesley, that they're kind of in a must-win situation. I just think if they're going to make it here tonight, they're going to have Ryan Bloom, Jeff Stabnow, Ryan Gormley, all those guys who are probably from 5th to 8th. They're going to have absolutely abysmal nights if Toby and Brett want to try to advance tonight. So they just have to outrun their competition. Don't drive over their heads, and just remember to keep your head on a swivel, because you never know what can happen here.
Much lengthy drivers meeting than before, as of course everybody getting the final 411 of what's to come. By the way, as we mentioned, this is the final race in the round of 8 to advance from the round of 12 tonight. So if you're a driver that wants to possibly join the opportunity to move into the round of 8, which by the way is 4 weeks of racing left. There's only 4 races left in the 2023 season 4 of the Northwest CLICKIT RV Fixed Setup Series. That is Iowa, Kentucky, Las Vegas, and then of course mid-November. The championship will be decided at Auto Club Speedway. They're gritting. Let's go racing on a Wednesday night for the best drivers of the virtual Northwest. Ryan Bloom needing to advance in the number 8 spot. Fast time in qualifying, he's on the pole. Joshua Marcy, the Tennessee driver, on the outside. Row number 2, Dan West Jr., the man of the number 1 spot, and Paul Newton flanked to his outside, ready to go in the number 4 in points. Jeff Stabnow, he's number 7 in the points. On the cusp of transferring, Frank Harris also alongside. Row 4, Toby Ritters, remember what we mentioned, the number 9 seed on the outside looking in, and Ryan Gormley, the prodigy, in the 22. He is not a run for the chance. He is number 6 seed. Top 10, Sean Wrightsman, the number 2 seed, and again, Jason, number 10 seed, Brett Johnson, 2 spots from looking on the outside of the round of 8.
Rest of the 19-car field tonight. Next row, in row number 6, you have William Fletcher. And in a must-win situation, Stephen O'Hare in that number 41 machine. Next row, Chris White holding that 3rd seat coming tonight. He just has to have a solid run. And Carl Burke in the 53. Next row, you got John Ottenbacher and Tyler King, last year's Truck Series champion. In the next row, you have Dana Rogers in the 07, Stephen Paulson in the 58, and rounding out the field in that 20 machine in 19th, Chris Kynes.
19 machines ready to roll. The field behind the safety car rolls off of pit lane, and they hit the 1.5 miles here at the virtual Homestead-Miami Speedway. 1 preliminary lap before we get ready to take green. Here's something also that's interesting, Jason. Though the schedule for the championship races are different than they mimic NASCAR, obviously, they do mimic the Northwest Truck Series Monday schedule by just a week apart. Obviously, last Monday night, we ran at Iowa. They're going to be at Vegas. They're going to be at Kentucky next week. All of these are races. They ran Homestead. The finale will be at Auto Club. How can you use the Monday race to your advantage for the Wednesday series as we await a start?
I mean, really, it's just all about racecraft. I mean, those two machines handle totally differently. the Truck Series being on an open setup compared to these high horsepower, low downforce, Xfinity Series machines, but really all about racecraft, just learning how your car handles and what you realize the car can and cannot do.
Totally different scenario. Feel the roar as they come to the line. Green flag underway. We're underway for the start in the final race of the round of 12 at Homestead. Oh no! Trouble! Frank Harris spinning bottom of the apron, down below. Still no caution flag. He's down to the inside of the racetrack. Nobody in sight. And we'll stay under the green flag. Jason, my goodness, a little calamity coming off of that fourth turn.
Yes, saw Joshua Marcy get really, really loose there coming off turn number 4. And I was saying right when we went to feel the roar, when they went to 3, I saw that 25 and 55 machine right there in the top 2 spots. I saw Dan West Jr. throw it in there up on the top lane, and he was practically sideways through the center of the corner. And I thought to myself, oh boy, these things are going to be a heck of a handful here tonight. And sure enough, they were. Marcy able to save it. Unfortunately for Frank Harris, he goes around there after completing that first lap, but he's able to recover. No yellow.
You see the scoring pylon brightly lit like a Christmas tree in all of its kaleidoscope of colors. Let me explain. Gray is just drivers that are running for wins. They're not in the playoffs. If you're in blue, you're drivers that are still in the round of 8 to advance. If you're in red, you're on the outside looking in behind the top 8 spots. And most of all, if you're green for 2 drivers like Devin West and Sean Brightsman, you have advanced to the round of 8 here tonight after Homestead. Dana Rogers down to the bottom of the apron, all tore up. First car to come to pit lane. Wow.
That is a hard-looking wreck for that 07 machine. If I had to guess there with the Ford Performance Ford Mustang there, that front bumper is completely turned on, and there goes the engine, so he's done for the night. I believe they're going to be allowed to have one fast repair, but Dana is going to have to take that tow all the way to the pits. So that is definitely going to be race ending for Dana.
How frustrating is it to have to take, if you will, a fast repair so early in the race, Jason?
Oh, well, it's definitely, I've had my fair share of it in leagues before. I've been wrecked early on in a race, and it sucks. I'm just going to say it. It sucks, man, because you wait all week, you practice whatever, you put in whatever X, Y, Z, amount of time that you want into the sim. And the next thing you know, you're 5 laps into a race and you get wrecked, whether it be from somebody else or even your own mistake. And all you can do is beat yourself up or be mad at somebody, one or the other. So it's definitely frustrating, and it also just makes you drive a little bit more on edge after that fast repair is taken.
Just started in this 200-mile event, 134 laps, the mile and a half here at the Homestead-Miami Speedway. Variable banking, 18 to 20 degrees in the corners, exactly from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. Front straightaway, 1,760 feet. Same as the back stretch as they work their way now back across the line into turn number 1. But lap number 6 on the board, Ryan Bloom, the leader. This is Paul Newton, Marcy and company. Fletcher watching on in the top 10 off 2.
And everybody gets single file right now. You can see, though, going around 1 and 2, 3 and 4, everybody's kind of migrating around this racetrack. You really don't want to run up at the top of the racetrack for, after those first 5 laps if you're going to utilize that top like Toby Ritters is, unless you know you can get around somebody. If you know you have a faster car, sure, work that outside lane, but don't work it continuously lap after lap, because the more you stay up there, the further you go up, the more you're going to hurt that right rear tire. And your drive-off speed is just not going to be good. You're going to be slipping and sliding with the wear of that right rear tire. So really, if you want to save tires early on this race, with the track temperature being so high up here tonight, you're going to have to stay on that bottom for sure.
By the way, ironically, the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs will be in action at the Homestead-Miami Speedway this upcoming weekend. work their way back across the start-finish line. Another lap on the board. 3 days away from that event for the Cup Series, Xfinity, I believe the Truck Series, all in action right now. Is, of course, watching Bloom continue to lead the way. There's Ritters. Ritters in red. In the red 23, on the red in the scoring pylon, needing to have a solid race, and much less a win, Jason, as you mentioned, to try to advance Paul Newton right behind him.
Yeah, he's definitely going to need some type of magic here tonight. You know, obviously being about 18 points below that cutoff line from Ryan Bloom back to himself. So if he wants to make sure that he can keep up with everybody tonight, he's just got to run faster than plain and simple.
Down the back stretch, Newton alongside the road course king, doing well here in the early going, trying to get around Ritters to crack the top 5. Ritters all the way to the top of the safer barrier. Variable banking, precision banking, as we mentioned when we came on the air. By the way, 200 miles, 134 laps. Lap 67 will be the halfway mark of the race. 3 attempts at overtime if need be. And Ritters and Newton battle again for the top 5 out of 2, Jason.
Down the back straightaway, Newton tries to side draft Ritters, but it's not enough. Ritters just got enough momentum off turn number 2 to clear him, but Newton's going to shift back down to the bottom of the racetrack, start to slide up, and Toby Ritters is doing a great job with holding that outside line. The only reason he's keeping himself in front of that 27 machine down the straightaway is because of that progressive banking, being up at the top of the racetrack, up near that wall. He's able to kind of, get like a downhill moment off these corners, off 2 and 4, and it kind of just shoots him out a little bit further off those corners rather than having that shallow entry and then coming back up to the top like Paul Newton does. But like I said, it's just going to hurt Toby Ritter's tires here in the long run. So I think, in my opinion, personally, if I were him, I wouldn't be running that top continuously just because of that right rear wearing out. But who knows? Maybe he knows something that I don't. So maybe we'll see if this 23 can use that outside lane to his advantage.
Newton down on the bottom, continuing to battle with Ritters up on the top as they work now down the 3 degrees of banking. Completely in unison, Marcy off the pace. What's that like, Jason, to go from 18 degrees to 3 degrees? Is Marcy trying to get back on the high horse again in 3?
Well, you definitely feel like you're kind of in this scenario where you're in this out-of-world experience, even in a sim, pulling those G's and being able to just not really see a whole lot in front of you, only a few yards per se, like a Daytona, like a Talladega, and you're running all these different lines, trying to make sure that you can, have that car grip whatever lane you're running. Don't slide up, don't spin out, don't get loose. We've seen that 35 get really, really loose here a couple times now. So maybe that 35, Josh Marcy, not liking the way his car is handling for turn right now.
There is Stephen O'Hare. He currently is in 9th. Marcy, who is still finding an ill-handling car behind him in the top 10. O'Hare needs to win this race. Remember, he's missed the last couple of weeks. Iowa winner, Ryan Bloom. Right there. As all this happens across the line, another lap in. By the way, my apologies. It was not Ryan Bloom. Dennis Moore was the winner on Monday night. I'm sorry about that. Dennis Moore, Devin West, and Ryan Bloom finished in the podium. My apologies. Dennis Moore was the winner on Monday night. And right now, look at the splitter dragging possibly on that car there, Jason.
Yeah, and I'm noticing that too on the 35 machine. And I was just going to say too, Dennis had a really good run last week at Richmond, back in the Xfinity Series car, and obviously not here tonight, but maybe when he comes back, he can be better than ever. But this 35 machine, I'm not sure. It looks like, hearing a little bit of, sources telling us, that splitter does look like it's dragging on the right front of that 35 machine, possibly some damage, maybe internally with that car. I don't know if he's hit the wall, but by the looks of it, I think he's fine. But he's just getting super loose again off turn number 2. Josh Marcy is not liking the Homestead-Miami Speedway tonight.
You know, for part of me thinks he's crab walking, if you will, like that car is just cattywampus sideways down into the corner, but it's just the way he's driving the machine. Dirt tracks it off of turn 4 almost. Like he was about to rip the lip in that dirt track analogy. By the way, Jason, October 4th, Indianapolis, Dan West Jr. Let's pick him up real quickly. He's in second. He's got green. He advances to the round of 8. Behind him, Sean Brightsman, winner last week at Richmond. And they're right now second and third on the racetrack, being consistent. They could just have listen, they could tear their cars up. They could race to win. They could do whatever they want to do, Jason. They know they're going to the next round for a Team LSRTV.
Yeah, they could, but obviously they want to try to maximize, I think, the amount of points that they want with the gap heading into the next round, because remember, the points are all going to get reset to, you know, a certain standard, and they want to make sure that they can still hold more points than everybody else behind them who's going to advance and whatnot. So, I mean, if I were Dan West and Sean Brightsman, just try to maximize your points here today. And also, this helps you with your racecraft. Every race is an opportunity. And I know with this new playoff system, it's not really new, but, you know, from 2014, it's nearly a decade old now. Come next year, you know, every race, when you advance as early as Dan West Jr. did back in Indianapolis, you know, every race for those next 2 weeks is a learning experience. You know, you think about it, no matter how much sim time you have, every race you will get better as a driver, because you pick up on something that, oh, hey, I can actually push the car to this standard. I can do this. I can do that. I can't do this, but maybe I can do this. You know, let me try something, etc. You know, every race will help you, your racecraft, and that was a big thing we talked about during the, you know, the so-called month break, you know, after Labor Day when we came back. A lot of these guys participated in those fun series. Look at how beneficial it was for Toby Ritters, Brett Johnson, Jeff Stabnow, and others, just to name a few. Definitely every race you run here on the sim is beneficial to your racecraft for sure.
20 laps into this race right now as a battle heating up for the lead, or actually for second. For second, Sean Brightsman and Brightsman having company, trying to run down Dan West Jr. This is for the bridesmaid spot. All the while, Ryan Bloom, there he is up ahead. Upper left monitor, working the 3 degrees down the back stretch now. The palm trees here at the virtual Homestead-Miami Speedway, and Brightsman reeling in the number 55. Dan West Jr. trying to cut off that line of draft and air. And Brightsman, Jason, just getting faster and faster. Here he comes.
He gets really loose there off turn number 4. Has to make sure he doesn't push the issue too early. Remember, we still have a lot of laps to go here. They're probably going to pit around, I'd say, lap 35, lap 45 mark, maybe even 50, depending on how far they can stretch the fuel. But, oh, my goodness, you can just see right there how loose he is off the corner. Just for an example, get this. Oh, sideways again off the corner right there. But get this. Ryan Bloom, fastest lap of the race, 33.606. Last time around, 35.302. So nearly 2 seconds of fall off, almost 2 seconds rather, for these guys here this early on in the race.
Hey, both traded paints are working now. Ryan Bloom up on the outside, on the top, the leader. And while that goes on, Sean Brightsman gets around DWJ for position number 2. There's Paul Newton watching alongside. Jeff Stabnow awaits in the top 5. Then it's going to be Chris White, Ryan Gormley, Stephen O'Hare, Toby Ritters, and Joshua Marcy, the top 10. Couple of scares between Marcy and then, of course, where Rogers wrecked and messed up his car. Had a fast repair. He doesn't use it. He's out of the race. Carl Burke also quickly out of the race in the 53, Jason.
Yeah, some heartbreakers early on, just 25 laps into a race. You obviously don't want to have that happen, you know, if you're 2 guys like that, you know. But, I mean, long race, obviously, still have a few races left in the season to try to redeem yourself, get some good finishes, try to go out there, compete for wins and top 10s and whatnot. But this is a good little battle going on right here. This is the battle for second and third. You see Paul Newton, one of those guys who has to have a solid night compared to the bottom 8. Came into tonight 4th seeded in the playoffs, and he's trying to make a move around Dan West Jr., who looks like he's starting to fade back just a little bit. He's already lost one. Now he's going to lose 2 positions here to Paul Newton.
Backstretch. Newton and West, they battle. Well, Newton got around Dan West Jr. Dan West Jr. falling back, losing ground. Right now working 25 laps in this event. Whoa, hold on to it. A little loose there for a moment. Was the 55. He had to shake, rattle, and roll his way right behind back under Newton's car. This time now he wants to go to the outside lane as they work in off the corner on lap number 26 to the back stretch, and Dan West Jr. still fighting that car off of 2.
Those tires, I think, Wesley, are just burnt up on that 55 machine. If he wants to make sure he can get to the end of this green flag run, he's going to have to conserve, and he's going to have to conserve big time. I think he just ran him a little too hard. He could run that top lane. Now that these tires are kind of settled in, he can run that top lane. Maybe running the bottom now for him isn't the best option. I know a lot of guys tend to get loose on that bottom side, like you saw him and Paul Newton do before. But Paul Newton is like in this bottom right now. He's working at the bottom. I'm sure Brightson going to pick up another position, while Dan West Jr. right there still trying to rip that top side. That's what you can do with those older tires.
Ironically, 27. Paul Newton in second on lap 27, about 40 miles into this race so far. Here are the mile and a half of the Homestead-Miami Speedway, virtually iRacing on LSRTV and CRN. Down the front stretch they go, back up the 18 degrees of banking, 3 degrees in the turns. I'm sorry, on the straightaways, I meant to say. As Bloom still holding on to that spot. And honestly, as we watch Ryan Gormley back in 9th, Jason, Ryan Bloom has ran away with it. He's actually got about a 2.5 second lead or more on Paul Newton in the 27.
Yeah, no surprise to me, but maybe Paul Newton, once this next round, or rather this first round of green flag pit stops comes, pretty soon here, maybe Paul Newton can try that undercut. Maybe he can catch Ryan Bloom, because right now he's gaining a little bit ever so slightly. He loses at some parts of the racetrack. But he's back by 2.5 seconds, and sometimes it dwindles down, sometimes it goes back up. So I think if Paul Newton maybe can try the undercut on Ryan Bloom, even if it's just by about 2 laps, 1 lap, 2 laps, that could be what makes all the difference in making up like 7, 8, tenths of a second, maybe even 1.5 seconds just going through the corner on newer tires. But obviously you have to be careful when those tires are cold, because you'll slip and slide, both no heat in them and no grip.
Lap number 30. Here's your race summary. Presented by Virginia811.com, reminding you to dig with care. Homestead-Miami. Need the dash Miami, Charles. No cautions. No caution laps and no lead changes. Zeros across the board. You hear that analogy used in baseball or softball? Jason, that's the way it is right now on the race summary ticker.
Yeah, just nothing really going on right now, obviously. But, once we do have these green flag pit stops, you're going to start to see a lot of shakeup here. Guys are going to start to use this race as a strategy race. And something, Wesley, that really all comes out. And I think that this race is really highly dependent on strategy. And a lot of guys are going to kind of, throw something out the window, and just try to go all in on some random strategy. Because we only have right now 16 running cars. William Fletcher's 1 lap down, so it's 15 cars on the lead lap right now. That's a small field from what we're used to. Usually we're used to 28, 31, 30 cars. And obviously with this field being so small here tonight, strategy is going to be key for every single one of those guys inside that top 10 to top 15.
Matter of fact, about to be approaching 50 miles into this race, halfway. This race quickly going down to lap number 33. 100 laps to go when they come back to the line next time by. Ryan Bloom, the leader. There is the 47. That's Christopher White, the Studio 17 machine that we mentioned. Driver, a former Cup Series champion. had a pretty good opportunity to run for a truck title on Monday night. Due to the crazy changing work schedule, had to bow out of the Monday series. And you can bet bottom dollar he is definitely interested and determined, if you will, Jason, to win the Northwest CLICKIT RV Fixed Setup Series title for Wednesday night.
Yeah, definitely, no doubt about it, obviously. But a lot of these guys here, they're all trying to compete, this late into the season. Some guys want their first win of the season. Some guys want multiple wins. Some guys are trying to compete for a championship, It's crunch time of the season. We've had ourselves a great season for not only the Northwest Truck Series, but also the Fixed Series here. Especially, always on LSRTV. It's been a great time, obviously, this season, calling so many races, having so many great moments, so many funny moments, so many great pieces of action towards the end of these races. And, now we're starting to dwindle down into these final 4 races. So it's going to get good. It's going to get exciting here these next few weeks.
I shudder to think about this, Jason, how fast the season flew. If you work in the real sport, we've been talking about this amongst people in racing and football and, excuse me, I can't believe in less than 30 days we're getting ready to go into basketball season. For me, it's just the same thing here.
Oh, we got a crash!
Contact, trouble, Marcy got into King. King into the safer barrier. Marcy is spun. No caution. Another incident on track, but no yellow flag, Jason. Will still stay green. Gotta wonder how much damage is on Gormley, Martin, and King's car.
That was a hard hit to the outside wall for Josh Marcy. I saw him get really loose there, Wesley, coming off 4, and all of a sudden just overcorrected once he hit the door of that 21 machine. And, I guess 3, 4, 5, 6, however many times this 35's been sideways tonight, it just finally had enough hard up on the wall. Wow, the 22 didn't even get any damage. I thought he clipped him. him. Maybe we could try to ride on board this 22 machine because, boy, he just made it through there by maybe a couple feet.
Marcy's car all tore up on the front straightaway, and he is coming to pit lane, and he's going to have to take a fast repair, and he might be busted for speed. Marcy, I think, entered pit road speeding. He had no control of his car. Tyler King, let's check him now, Charles, on track in 12. How badly damaged is the 21? And I believe Gormley got away from it, except he just fell back because of the scare of what happened. And Tyler King, little damage on the right front and the right rear. The left sides are okay, Jason. And the Band-Aid machine with the former colors of Michael Waltrip when he used to run that in the NASCAR Busch Series continues on. The Northwest Truck Series champion of last year. And by the way, Jason, I hinted on this. He's not even in. He wasn't even in the run for the playoffs this year for the truck title.
Yeah, that's crazy to think that the guy. But you know what's funny though, Wesley? That's the way this sport is, whether it's real life or sim. Looking back, you take a couple examples for the drivers in the playoffs. This year, Joey Logano, last year's Cup Series champion, knocked out after the round of 16. Penske just hasn't performed this year, unfortunately. And then obviously you go back to Kevin Harvick. It was, a 9-10 win season? Gets to Martinsville, he's in a must-win situation. Or not a must-win, rather, but he needs 1 point. Tries to spin out Kyle Busch, misses the final 4. That's just the way that these playoffs can, create these moments where you have to have a Game 7 moment, even though you have dominated a season or you've been one of the biggest contenders all year or the previous year, whatever it may be. And for Tyler King, it just wasn't his year in the trucks to make the playoffs. But he's got a chance here to win another Northwest title this season in the Fixed Setup Series stuff. I mean, he's 5th right now seated in that number 21 machine. So maybe he has an opportunity here to get that championship this year.
Sean Brightsman on pit road. Green flag pit stops as we're approaching 60 miles. into this 200-miler here. Top 5, Ryan Bloom, Paul Newton, Christopher White, Jeff Stabnow, and Dan West Jr. We're also at the top of the hour. We'll pause for 10 seconds of network identification. This is iRacing on LSRTV and CRN, the Community Radio Network, the playoffs from Homestead-Miami Speedway.
Community Radio Network, WCRN 87.9 FM, Clayton, Garner, Raleigh, North Carolina, USA. We are CRN.
The playoffs roll along. Welcome back to coverage from the virtual Homestead-Miami Speedway. I am Wesley Outland, Jason Rockefeller alongside Charles Wooten in the production booth, and green flag pit stops also happening as Ryan Bloom, Paul Newton, Dan West Jr., Stephen O'Hare either entering pit road or exiting. Toby Ritters now joins them on pit road, and Sean Brightsman back on track in 12th.
Yeah, I think Brightsman's probably going to get the jump on the race leaders. He was able to pit a couple laps before Ryan Bloom, so I would not be surprised if this 46 machine does go past this 25 machine. One thing to note there, Wesley, on that first stint of green flag runs, that number 27 machine of Paul Newton was catching that 25 on the long run. So something to make note of is that Paul Newton looks like he has the best long run car or feeling.
Ryan Bloom will come back out on track. It looks like between 7th and 8th. Johnson on pit road, up to the top 5 before he came in. Just about over 65 miles into this race. This green flag pit stops now underway. No yellow flag as of yet. 9 cars on the lead lap. This is doing nothing as we see now Chris White, Johnson pit. This is doing nothing, Jason, but just spread out the less than 20 cars that took the green. Here comes Ryan Gormley now on pit road. He was second. Jeff Stabnow now the new leader.
Yeah, Jeff, Tyler, Paul Newton's actually already pitted. So actually, he was able to leapfrog that 25. The same goes for the 46. So now that this 27 is going to cycle out to be the leaders, you see Gormley overshoot his box a little bit, had to put it in reverse. Here comes Jeff Stabnow, hot into the pits right there. Looks like he's going to get it slowed down to the correct mile-an-hour limit on pit road. He'll be in, so that leaves Tyler King, the one and only driver, to not come into the pits here tonight. Had some damage there to the right side after that contact with Joshua Marcia. Saw that right front fender, was kind of caved in a little bit, definitely going to hinder his performance, so he's going to have to keep an eye on that. Maybe put up a few Band-Aids here when he comes on to pit road this time.
Tyler King, now the new leader. He hasn't pitted yet. And obviously, he had that crazy scare with Marcy. Marcy 1 lap down. King now the new leader. Newton to second. Brightsman third. There you see also Paulison up on the outside. Stephen Paulison to get his lap back, racing the 21. And here comes Marcy to try to do the same. Oh! Whoa! Bonsai, Marcy into King. The leader, Bonsai, got loose, went to the bottom of the apron, and still holds on to it. Marcy got into the 21 there, Jason, but he saved it.
Yeah, he saved it, but Tyler King is coming into the pits this time. He said, I've had enough on these old tires. He's going to give up that strategy coming into the pits. He's probably going to take a little bit longer to fix that right front and also that right rear quarter panel right there. You see it kind of pushed in a little bit. As long as it's not pushing up the spoiler, it's not going to create that big up, and he overshoots his box right there. So that's even more damage to that 21 machine. Morally, I think, though, that right front definitely was probably going to hinder him. So he's definitely going to come in right here taking 4 tires and fuel. Probably going to take a little bit of damage repair time. He does. So it looks like that right front, it's kind of pushed up a little bit more, but still pushed in a lot on that 21 machine.
And Jason, now that I've had time to think about it in my head, obviously we saw King drift up the racetrack. He was already fighting loose because of the tires worn out. and he got into the area, the racing groove where Marcy was, and they bonsai'd off of one another. So I would per se that Joshua Marcy was at fault there. King just needed a new, 4 new sides of rubber around the car, and that's exactly what he's got now. It's now Stabnow. You see him in blue on the ticker. He's in 7th. He's one of those drivers that are in the transfer for the round of 8. But obviously, with the win, they'll get on the green bar, and he could be the 3rd driver for Team LSRTV to transfer. Right now, Brightsman and West are the only 2. West, the Indianapolis winner, Brightsman, the Richmond winner last week. And we're approaching 50 laps into this race here, Jason.
Yeah, and the fact that Sean Brightsman has been able to get past Paul Newton right now kind of actually baffles me a little bit when we saw how good that 46 was at getting up through the field from where he started, on the short run. But Paul Newton, he kind of prevailed on that long run. So I think if Paul Newton's going to get past Sean Brightsman, I think he's going to do it probably on the long run. Definitely going to be something that we're going to have to keep an eye on. But those guys who are in the top 4 right now, I think that they are definitively the best drivers. One guy I got my eye on right now, Stephen O'Hare, sitting there in that 5th spot, needs to win. He's about to lose a position here to Chris White if he doesn't hold on to it right there off the corner. Got a little loose. This 41's going to have to throw something at all these guys up here in the front if he wants to make it into the next round of the playoffs.
And once again, Sean Brightsman up to the P1 spots. O'Hare, Stephen O'Hare finding a loose car. One of those drivers in red. And that Nicole Bryan Photography 41. Like Jason mentioned when we came on the air for the broadcast, he has to win this race. He's dirt tracking it on for 2 from 18 degrees to 3 degrees down the straightaway. He's in trouble, man. It looks like he's lost the handling on the 41, and he's already pitted, Jason.
Yeah, definitely you do not want to burn these tires up early on. But, if you do, it could, set up an opportunity for you to try and do that leapfrog. And I think that since this 41 machine, for the time being, he's got a decent gap over Jeff Stabnow, being about 4 to 5 seconds. I think that Stefan, what he really needs to do here, Wesley, is obviously run his race. Don't overdrive the car. Keep the tires on it. And then obviously wait until it's time to come in for the next round of pit stops. But try this undercut. Look at how much it helped out Paul Newton. Now, I know, obviously, he had the lead. He lost it. But watch this long run. We saw how good this 27 was. I think that being able to pit, obviously, earlier, that some of those guys definitely helped him out. The same thing with Sean Brightsman. He was the first one to come to pit road. Look at where he is now. But they're all battling 1, 2, and 3 coming into turn number 3.
Pit sequences. First on pit road, lap 27, William Fletcher. Last to pit, lap 48, was Tyler King. So within a 20-lap window, we saw pit stops being handled. Mostly everybody came in between 42 to 44, or at least the majority of the pack. Fastest on the racetrack, Ryan Bloom around Brightsman to the lead, 25. See ya, 33.606. He's the fast man on track, and he's back to P1.
Hold on, though. Now it's so fast. Sean Brightsman pulled the crossover move off turn number 2. He got right down to the bottom of the 25 machine, and off turn number 4 here, he's going to try to clear this 25, just not with momentum. Here comes Bloom with the outside head of steam. Those two are going to be side by side once again now, coming into 1 and 2 this time.
Side by side, off of the corner, Brightsman. Little wiggle there. Alongside Bloom. Bloom will power away. Newton's there watching all this going on. 10 laps to halfway, 100 miles. Still no yellow flag yet. Let me say that on correction. We've had 3 cautions, just no yellow flag thrown, Jason Rockefeller.
Yeah, basically. I mean, obviously we had Frank Harris, go around there on that first lap. We had Carl Burkhardt into the wall. We had Josh Marcy go up and collect Tyler King. I mean, those are just 3 incidents right there, but just because of the way they spun out and how they kept it going, really, or were at the bottom of the racetrack, just no yellows were thrown. That could be something that, could be happening all night long. We might see a couple more instances possibly where we see the same exact thing happen, but maybe we can have, one yellow flag here tonight. That's the thing. You just don't know. With obviously, the track temperature being so high, the tires, the cars being so loose, there's a lot of variables that go into what could provide a caution here later on in this race.
Working off to third, down into the third turn. They go from 18 degrees around turns 1 and 2 to 3 degrees on the straightaways. Exactly in unison. This is round 18, the final race in the round of 12. 4 drivers are eliminated after tonight. Those in red are in trouble. Spelled TROUBLE virtually. If you're in green and blue right now consistently, you're doing what you need to do to transfer. And Jason, let's throw this out there. You got a guy like O'Hare or Toby Ritters or Brett Johnson. They're in red, yes. But if they could win, they get the green light. You transfer into the next round of the round of 8. And then that gives a little spooky, if you will, shenanigans to a guy that might be in blue that might not make it in by virtue of points because a guy on the outside looking in won.
Yeah, and that's one of those things that it just absolutely sucks if you're one of those guys in the blue. Next thing you know, if you're Ryan Blue, you've practically dominated this race. What happens if there's a late race yellow? What happens if Stephen O'Hare, Toby Ritters, or Brett Johnson, guys outside looking in, come home and steal one of those guys steals this one away from you? That's got to be the most frustrating thing in the world. I would just hang up the virtual steering wheel just for the rest of the season. That's how mad I'd be practically. But you can't give up. That's the thing. You have to run your race. You have to maintain, that cool, calm, collective mindset that I always talk about. Because that's the thing in the virtual world. It's the same thing in the real world. You can't go in all over your head, or in over your head rather. And obviously, you have to maintain that mentality where you're like, I can still do this. I can still do this. That's what you got to do. If the second you give up is the second you're the first loser.
Yeah, very true. We watch all this happening. Approaching the cross flags, halfway point of this race, as we are a mere 5 laps away from halfway. 100 miles down, 100 miles to go. Ryan Bloom leading the way. There you see Dan West Jr., Christopher White. This is 4th and 5th on track. Back around the corner, down the front straightaway. And there's a look at your pit stop category. The only man with 0, Carl Burke, crashed early. He exited the race along with Dana Rogers. 16 cars on the track, along with William Fletcher. From the caboose to the locomotive in the cab. It's Bloom and Harris. Fletcher 1 lap down. If a caution was to come out, he would get the free pass. Jason, I will say this as well. As we watch Stabnow and O'Hare battle for 6th and 7th. Whoa, boy, O'Hare, hold on. He was fighting that car in the corner. Pretty impressive to only have 2 cars a lap down right now, even with all the green flag pit stops and the long green flag runs we've had on the track.
Yeah, for sure, no doubt about it. And obviously, it's presented us with this, this really stretched out race, rather. So, halfway point of this race, you usually see these races get very, strung out as, whoa, O'Hare is up and into the wall, got loose off turn number 4, slapped it not once but twice. Looks like there's no damage to the 41 Ford Mustang there, so I believe he's going to be able to keep going. It just goes to show you with how little cars we have here tonight, this race still very, very stretched out. Ryan
Bloom, the man that leads the way. Paul Newton, Sean Brightsman. That's the way it stands right now as they're coming down the front straightaway. 100 miles in. 100 miles to go. We're halfway. We welcome you inside the broadcast booth as we are preparing for the LSRTV mid-race update. I'm Wesley Outland, Jason Rockefeller down below. Jason, a fairly quiet race. We've seen some different drivers obviously going to the top of the board, but I think right now the fast man in the early going has to be Ryan Bloom. And of course, we're seeing his strengths, and you said, and I quote, this is the guy that literally we thought was going to win a couple of weeks ago, come so klose. This man's doing exactly what he's going to do on the Monday Night Truck Series. He's doing what he needs to do now on this Wednesday night to lock himself into the championship 8.
Yeah, but you know, the one thing that I thought about was Paul Newton. Man, look at Paul Newton right there on the track. He is catching that number 25 machine. He's going to go to the bottom here. He's going to use that 35 as a pick, but the 25 will as well. It's just all going to be about tire conservation, who's going to have the better long run. Because let's face it, just because of the 14 cars we have on the lead lap, and obviously the 16 cars we have on track in total, I mean, you look at this, Wesley, this is going to be more than likely about a 95% chance of running all the way to the end green flag. So if you want to make sure you can win this race, you have to play strategy.
And I'll say this to elaborate on that, Jason. We've had wrecks. We've had incidents happen on the racetrack. You look at what happened to Rogers. You look at what happened with King and Marcy. Marcy's been like a ping pong ball, if you will, in a battering ram tonight. And many times he's been involved in incidents, and he just keeps on ticking like the Energizer Bunny. But with that being said, it just hasn't triggered a yellow flag.
Yeah, but you know, like I said, it doesn't really surprise me. I mean, you look at the amount of room there on that apron compared to most tracks we've been to recently. You know, it doesn't surprise me that there really hasn't been, you know, any yellows. Also, the fact too, like I talked about, you know, the fact we only have 16 cars running right now, that's a huge factor as well. If we were running 30 cars, oh my goodness, I trust me, we would have had multiple yellows by now, like we did back in the springtime. I think that definitely, though, that if there's going to be some sort of yellow, it's going to be from a guy overcorrecting like you saw Joshua Marcy did early on. That's just, in my opinion, what I think is going to happen. If we do get that yellow, is somebody's going to get really loose because of that track temperature, the tires heating up, the car's not really being, you know, settled. That's just how I see it.
By the way, as we go back to on-track activity, this has been your LSRTV mid-race report. If you're keeping score, back, of course, March 22nd that Jason referred to last time we were here at Homestead-Miami in the regular season. Ryan Bloom set fast time. Sean Brightsman was the winner of the race.
Yeah, and Ryan Bloom, he's doing a really good job right now being able to maintain this lead over Paul Newton. We just mentioned it. Paul Newton, really good on that long run. Ryan Bloom, really good on this short run. And the guy who loves what he's seen out of his windshield is Sean Brightsman, trying to go back-to-back with Homestead races, trying to sweep him this year. You see Bloom, he's going to run that top lane right above that seam. He's getting loose. You can hear the throttle input. Obviously, on that number 25 machine, he's going to try to side draft this 27 down the back. I think that Paul Newton, though, here, Wesley, with his 25 sliding up through the center, I think Newton's going to clear him all 4.
Newton on the bottom, Bloom up top. They drag race to the line. Hear them pushing the engines over, revving to their limit. 73 laps on the board, just can't clear them on the bottom. Newton trying so hard to battle up on the top shelf here. Ryan Bloom, Newton inside, here he comes. Oh boy, there's almost contact, Jason, as they go to 3.
Back into 3, Paul Newton still working in that bottom side compared to Ryan Bloom. It's just all going to be about who slips up first. Will Ryan Bloom slip up? It looks like it was just enough. He'll slip up a little bit. Paul Newton able to clear him now off turn number 4, but Bloom this time looks to the bottom. He'll drift back up to the high side here to try to get that momentum coming off turn 2. He gets really tight for a slight moment, and Bloom, or not Bloom rather, but Newton able to pull away by about 3 or 4 car lengths off 2.
And open the door for Paul Newton. The Paul Newton Designs Ford. to clear him, put him in the lead. Lap number 75 this time by. And Ryan Bloom way, way high. You see him driving up into the safer barrier, up in the marbles, if you will. And now Toby Ritters and Brett Johnson. Two drivers, 8th and 9th on the racetrack. They are also 9th and 10th in the points. And Jason, here comes, as we approach lap 75 or over 75 laps in this run, where literally you always hear the analogy of every point matters, every position matters, especially if you're two drivers like Ritters and Johnson.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. I mean, this 23 and 7 machines here tonight, they're having solid runs, but it's just not going to cut it. You're going to need to win practically. I mean, the 25 is doing really good. The 47, the 55, I mean, the 55 and the 46 already locked in, but Stabnow, White, Bloom, Newton, they're all guys who are inside, looking to advance, and that's not what the 41, the 23, and the 7 need, especially Toby Ritters. I mean, he needs to beat all these guys, but even if so, I mean, just with the amount of cars we have on track tonight, the amount of points just isn't going to cut it, He needs to win. The same thing goes for Brett Johnson. Wesley, don't be surprised if you see this 23 or this 7 machine try to do this undercut here when we do approach, because we are going to start seeing green flag pit stops again here, probably within the next 10 laps or so. And if you're the 23 or the 7 or the 41, do not be surprised if one of these guys tries the undercut and then tries to save at the end of this race.
Top 10, Paul Newton, Ryan Bloom, Sean Brightsman, Chris White, Dan West Jr., top 5. Drivers in green have advanced to the round of 8. Regardless of what happens tonight, Sean Brightsman, Dan West Jr. are going to Iowa next week. Guys in blue, drivers in blue, are in the top 8 of the points by virtue of points, and they could transfer. If you're in red, 7th, 8th, 9th, O'Hare, Ritters, Johnson, you need a big W in a big way here at Homestead to punch your ticket into the round of 8. And right now, all the while, it's Paul Newton leading the way over Ryan Bloom and Sean Brightsman, the top 3. As you see now, Ritters and Johnson up in front of them, O'Hare. Desperation time, Jason, as we're closing in on about 50 laps to go, brother.
Yeah, it's getting to crunch time now. And it talked about, having those pit stops coming up. Here comes John Ottenbacher. He's coming from the back, so he's going to try the undercut. Not one of those guys in the playoffs, just barely missed out on it this year, maybe next year, John. He's a driver that has definitely improved ever since that long break we had in the middle of the season. So, heartbreaking for him to not be able to make the playoffs. But with that being said, John Ottenbacher can still come out here, compete for top 10s, top 5s, wins, etc. So, definitely a guy I'll be having my eye on come next season when we do go back racing for the next season. But, he's going to be able to start this first round of green flag pit stops. Not really in the contention, but it definitely opens up the door for some of these guys, maybe like a Ritters, like an O'Hare, Johnson, Gormley, to come in and try this undercut strategy to get out there and then save until the very end and just see what they have. Because if you're O'Hare, Ritters, and Johnson, I'm sorry, you absolutely have to do that. There is no way, and I'm sorry, there is no way you're going to win this race without some kind of yellow, as O'Hare gets loose off 2. Able to save it, though. But those guys need to pull a strategy out of the hat here to try to win this race.
And there's a lose-lose, win-win for the undercut. If you go for the undercut, you at least have a chance to catch up to the leaders and put yourself in contention. However, if you have a mistake on pit road, Jason, it can penalize you. You can go a lap down, maybe more. But in addition to that, you've got to save your equipment. You can't race as hard as somebody that's pitting with maybe 30 laps to go and has new fresh tires, and you're going to go for an undercut with 50 laps to go ahead of your lead pack. So there is a strategy, as you mentioned, in doing the undercut to try to make it work to perfection. Sometimes it works, and then sometimes it is a disaster.
That's the thing. It's all about timing it perfectly. As you see, Stephen O'Hare gets loose. This is the guy I'm most worried about out of the drivers, who just doesn't have the pace out of those three compared to himself, Johnson, and Ritters, that needs to win. He has seemed the most all over the place here all night long compared to the 23 and the 7. I think out of these three cars, as you see the 55, Dan West Jr., he's in the pit road this time, so he's going to try this undercut. If I'm the 23 and the 7 and the 41, you pit this time by, no doubt about it. And honestly, try to take 2 tires. That's really all I can say. You have to throw something out. Now that the 55 is the first one to pit here, there's no way they're going to get up towards the lead unless they somehow take 2 tires.
Lap 44 last time Dan West Jr. came down to the pit lane. Lap 85, he is the man. Going for the undercut on anyone else. And honestly, Jason, if you're a guy like Dan West Jr., what do you got to lose, strategy-wise? I mean, you literally know you're advancing into Iowa to the round of 8. Now you're just literally going for a strategy to try to pick up a W. Another win, might I add.
Yeah, and that's really all it is for that 55 or that 46 rather.
Stephen O'Hare in.
And here comes Stephen O'Hare. He's in this time by, so he took some word of advice, and he's going to come into the pits this time. But with that being said, I just don't know if it's going to be able to work out for the 41 machine. We'll see what he's able to do with this. But, I mean, the 55 and the 46, they're just out here for bragging rights, really. They pick up another win. It's just, hey, man, I got another W. What are you going to do about it?
By the way, I think Sean Brightsman overshot his pit stall. He will lose some time there. I believe he overshot by a box. Here comes now the leaders. Oh, Ryan Bloom with the binders on Newton. Oh, boy, I hope they don't get busted for speeding. That might be questionable, Jason.
I tell you what, if he wasn't speeding, talk about trying to make up a gap. You think about one driver I think about in particular who does that quite often in the NASCAR Cup Series is Kyle Larson. We've seen it time and time again where Larson will make up a ton of ground on pit road when he's trying to run somebody down on a green flag cycle. He is the best at doing that. If that 25 doesn't get penalized and he was able to make up that much ground on that 27 machine, he's a genius.
Chris White, here he comes. Second on track, obviously the Studio 17 in pink for October, Breast Cancer Awareness Month. He's on pit road. Johnson need to have the pit stop of his virtual career right now to try to put himself into the round of 8. Stabnow, second time in the lead. Here he comes, billing down onto pit road in the 24 from Billings, Montana. He hasn't been competitive as far as in the front, Jason. However, he's been consistent in his runs, in his drives. Jeff Stabnow, 7th. 4 top 5s, 10 top 10s, 1 win in this series, by the way. It was back, of course, in April at Kansas. Nowhere near like Homestead-Miami, but so far by virtue of consistent points and finishes has put Jeff Stabnow in this run to the championship and possibly the advancement of the round of 8. Here comes now Paulison on pit road.
Here comes Stephen Paulson into his box right now with that Aerokinetics machine. He's going to take 4 fresh tires. He's out and away, not one of the guys, obviously, who is in contention for this win, but he's trying to do something like everybody else. Sean Brightsman, though, he's able to pick up that race lead from pitting, obviously. So, with that being said, will the 27 machine run him down? Will the 55 or the 25 run him down as well? We'll have to see here. We're closing in on just about 40 laps to go. I think that 27, though, Wesley's probably going to get to this 46, but we'll have to see.
Approaching lap 100, 90 on the board. Sean Brightsman, Paul Newton, Dan West Jr., Ryan Bloom, Christopher White, as the most of the majority of the cars have pitted. We're going to go side by side. You don't miss a thing. We're back for the finish with under 40 to go from Homestead-Miami. This is coverage of the Northwest CLICKIT RV Fixed Series Round of 12 finale.
iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Looking to the inside of Turner, trying to make it 3 wide down the back straightaway, nearly does.
Last night the track was very slick. You know, we had 2 good grooves.
But anyway, just another some of that.
There's people in the stands. That means there's people watching.
Ready to strap in. Closing into the finish. Still caution free as we're closing lap 96 of 134 laps. Wesley Outland, Jason Rockefeller alongside Rocket Racing Media, LSRTV, CRN coverage. Charles Wooten doing a phenomenal job in the box, handling production. And Jason, though this has been a caution-free race, this has been an entertaining race. This has been a strategic race, strategy at its finest. And I don't think we're done just yet. 9 lead changes, by the way, since the last time we checked the Virginia811.com Dig with Care race summary. Still goose eggs on cautions and caution laps, Jason.
Yeah, not really too much going on, obviously, you know, but that's just the way that this race has played out with a low car count. Obviously, the green flag pit stops does not surprise me, but we obviously, for some reason, Wesley, we just always seem, me and you both in the booth, we'll have a race where it's like this. It's nice, it's cool, you got some good battles all over the place, some strategy in the mix, and then all of a sudden we'll have a yellow with 2 laps to go. But we'll see. Hopefully the commentator's curse doesn't exist, but with myself, it tends to be, you know, pretty relevant. Here comes Josh Marcy. He's coming to the pits this time again. Wonder if maybe an issue on that 35 machine, or he's trying something that nobody else is.
Marcy on pit road. And I think that this is really a bold strategy for the 35. He winged it all the way to longer than the other drivers did before pitting. Here comes now Audenbacher and Paulison. This is for 11th and 12th outside the top 10. Couple of cars a lap down, as a matter of fact. Drivers on the outside looking in from the round of 12. O'Hare 7th, Ritters 8th, Johnson 9th. Jason, would you have it any other way? These guys are like right in the cusp of the crosshairs of one another.
Yeah, no, there's a lot going on right now, you know, just with the storylines and whatnot, you know, between the 41, 23, the 7, needing to win, needing to pull out a strategy. I just don't think it's going to work. Paul Newton, can he take the lead away from Sean Brightsman? You know, can the 2 guys who've already advanced take a win away from the guys who are just kind of battling right now for points? Will we see a late race yellow? There's so many things going through our heads right now here as we're just at 34 laps to go.
Ritters, Johnson, 8th and 9th. That's the way it rolls. Back into the 18 degrees of banking, and they stay hugged to the bottom of the white line. Now down the straightaway, the backstretch. Let's check in on the Kaufman creative weather conditions as we approach 35 remaining. Jason, it hasn't changed by much, honestly.
Yeah, not really a lot changed here with the weather temperature. I mean, the track temp is still very, very high right now. You know, ambient air temp still 80 degrees. Pretty much the start of the race, Wesley. Nothing going on right now. And I think a big reason why the track temp is still the same temperature that it was now compared to what it was at the beginning is because of those clear skies. Not really a lot of clouds anymore, so there's not really any opportunity for any kind of cloud cover here.
Nor cautions, as our producer just said, to kind of slow down the field or cool off the tires. That's actually a very wise analogy. Just over 100 laps into it and 32 to go. Brightsman, Newton, West. Bloom, White, Stab now. They come to the line, it'll be 30 remaining. A battle heating up for the lead now. It was about a quarter of a second. And now Newton running down his prey, the predator on the hunt. It's Newton. Newton, by the way, looking to try to pick up his second win. If he can do it with 8 top 5s and 14 top 10s. He won back in September, Jason. A wild one at Talladega. Boy, that's one we will never forget on the calendar this year.
Yeah, there's been a lot of interesting races for sure that we've had so far this year, you know. I mean, just too many to count off the top of my head, you know. And next year is going to provide some great racing as well. You know, you think about the guys who've gotten way, way better this year. Imagine what they're going to be able to do after the offseason, using that racecraft, taking in what they can learn during that offseason. Will we see Toby Ritters finally break through and get a win other than a super speed win? Will we see Ryan Gormley finally become that dominator because he's been super good here? Will Chris White take this crown away from Dan West? Will Sean Bryson fall off? Will Kevin Smith finally get a good internet connection? We'll have to see. But, you know, next season should be a lot of fun.
Should for sure. By the way, I haven't mentioned, but our broadcast coverage on CRN, presented by the Russ Wiles Agency Group Incorporated, Allstate, reminding you, are you in good hands? The Stock Car Racing Team Game, Vincent's Pub and Eatery, and U.S. Sports Uniforms. Thanks to all of those partners for keeping our coverage on the air. As right now, lap number 106 of 134, flash on the scoring pylon. Brightsman is the man in front, Newton in second, West third. There's Ritters, O'Hare, Johnson, still right there in the same positions on 7, 8, and 9.
Brightsman right now, he's kind of starting to fall off a little bit. You're seeing Paul Newton get to him here. It's under 0.4 of a second, kind of almost right now, but it's kind of flirting between it. I can only imagine Sean Brightsman's probably not running the bottom lane because this 27 machine, we have not really seen him, Wesley, all night long go to that top lane. He's able to paint that white line a little bit better than Brightsman, but I think the thing that Brightsman is doing absolutely correct is taking that line away from the 27. We talk about this a lot in motorsports when it comes to the oval side with stock cars. Take that line away from the guy. Make him search around. Make him, you know, run a line that he might not be very comfortable with. Maybe the reason why we haven't seen that 27 up at the top of the track is simply because, no offense to Paul Newton, maybe he just can't run the top as good as he can run the bottom. You know, make him go to the middle, the top, whatever. The 46 of Brightsman's doing a great job holding off this 27 of Paul Newton here, coming around for just 24 laps to go in a few laps.
Coming down to the end of it, Sean Brightsman back in front again. Look at now, Dan West Jr. Ryan Bloom on the move down to the bottom. West up high, working off two. Bloom starting to show his strength to come to the front. And look at Ritters and O'Hare and Johnson. That's a three-car battle for the drivers in red. You ever heard of the song Lady in Red? Men in Red. Battling to try to go to the next round of the round of 8 into turn 3.
And remember, if these guys get a yellow, being in front of one another is absolutely key. That could be what wins you this race. Could we see a late race yellow that could allow these guys to line up in a position where they could go and compete for this win? We just don't know. I believe that's probably why they're battling so hard here.
And Ritters clearing by the red machines on the scoring ticker. In the battle of red, Ritters over O'Hare and Johnson. And that is 2 spots ahead for Ritters on Johnson. Because remember, O'Hare, as he slips up high, the number 12 seed. Johnson clearing him. Ritters and Johnson 9th and 10th. Never would have thought we'd see an amazing battle, Jason, not only for the front runners in the points, but mainly in the back. It's desperation at its finest as Ritter tracks it off too. Wow!
Big sideways moment there for not only Ritters, but Stephen O'Hare as well. They're off turn number 2. Here comes Brett Johnson working down to the bottom. Thought about a slider maybe. He started to slide up, got the thing backed up. He's going to be able to get right past the 23 machine down the front stretch. Almost pinches them in the wall, but Brett Johnson able to clear that 23 here going into 1.
That's a battle between Win Racing and Team LSRTV, even for the transfer spots going at it. They are giving it everything they got. A couple of Win Racing drivers there with the driver Toby Ritters and Team LSRTV number 7, Brett Johnson. You got Stephen O'Hare. I believe he's with oh my goodness, what team is that? They've changed it up a little bit. Going across the line. Brightsman back to that top spot as we mentioned, by the way. What a battle, what a race, it's coming down to the end. Beaver State Racing is what I meant to say. The 41, Stephen O'Hare, Jason. Lost track there for a second, but we're caught back up. All this going on. As right now, Brightsman still the leader. You're on board with Stephen O'Hare. He's in 9th. Marcy a lap down, trying to run down the 9th place car. And under 20 to go here at Homestead-Miami.
Yeah, and here's the thing, too. We talked about Sean Brightsman having that race lead right now. Paul Newton is still right there, only back by about half a second, but because Brightsman was able to take away that line, Paul Newton hasn't been able to make up the ground that he's been wanting to. He's still continuing to fall back. Sean Brightsman can still fall off here, possibly with the tires as the 55 gets sideways off turn number 4. Nearly slid down the racetrack into the 47, but he's able to save it. That's the battle for 4th right now as Chris White tries to have himself a nice race tonight here at Homestead-Miami Speedway to advance into the round of 8.
Under 20 to go, ready to bring this one to the finish. We're also approaching the top of the hour. We'll pause for 10 seconds of network identification. This is the playoffs for the Northwest CLICKIT RV Fixed Setup Series on CRN and for those watching on LSR TV.
Community Radio Network, WCRN 87.9 FM, Clayton, Garner, Raleigh, North Carolina, USA. We are CRN.
Approaching the finish of this race. Welcome back to coverage. Rocket Racing Media, LSRTV, CRN. Round of 12 finale, race 3 tonight at Homestead. Who is going to the round of 8? More importantly, the next round. Next, shoot wins tonight at Iowa. Oh. And look at Stephen O'Hare pitting. Are they pitting again, Jason? Are we seeing unscheduled pit stops here? I didn't think they'd have to pit again.
I don't think they're going to have to pit, Wesley. I think the 41 got some damage right there. I mean, the right front fender was crumpled in a little bit. I wonder if the 41 got involved in some kind of incident possibly.
Maybe somewhere we missed it. Nonetheless, under 20 laps to go, 15 remaining now. As O'Hare back on track. There's your pit stop window. Mostly deuces for everybody. Thrace now for O'Hare, joining Fletcher and Ottenbacher in the back. Here's a look at what happened to Stephen O'Hare, Jason. This might be why he's pitting here in the 41.
Yeah, you're going to see him right here. I want to say he's probably going to get a little bit loose off too. Yeah, you're starting to see him loose.
Wow.
Oh, he overcorrects it.
Wow.
Right into the wall. Now imagine if he was battling with Toby Ritters and Brett Johnson again. That could have been a yellow. But that 41, I think it's safe to say Wesley Stephen O'Hare is not going to win tonight, even with the yellow. If he were to stay out, you know, he's going to be one lap down. He's going to be able to take him a wave around. And if he stayed out.
It took a fast repair. And he probably just took a fast repair at that. Because there would have been no way that car would have been able to drive. He would have been crab walking down the track.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it. That 41 machine, we saw that damage all of a sudden pop out on that right front fender when we panned to him on the pit road. So it's 41 to Stephen O'Hare. Looks like his playoff hopes have been dashed here tonight. The only ones who are outside looking in who could possibly do something, Brett Johnson, Toby Ritters. Maybe they can find themselves in a position where they can get some type of win. But if it's going to happen, they're going to need a yellow flag.
Marcy, King, couple of lap down cars. If a yellow flag was to come out now with 12 to go, Paulison would get the free pass. 9 cars on the lead lap from Brightsman to Gormley. This race has not seen a yellow flag tonight. We've had incidents on track. We just never had a yellow flag recorded. And Brightsman, Jason, looking to seal the deal, if you will. He's already going to the round of 8 next week at Iowa. He just wants to get another W. And by the way, if he wins 2 in a row, he won Richmond last Wednesday night. And it'll be win 4 of the season, tying his teammate Dan West Jr., who right now is in 5th.
Yeah, but watch out for Paul Newton. He's still right there, you know, kind of in the clutches of Newton. And the thing that's helping Sean Brightsman is when it comes to these two, they're in Brightsman's house right now. Not only does Brightsman have that win back in the spring here, but he's also the leader, so he can cut off Paul Newton's line as many times as he wants. Paul needs to search around and find the better lane, hope for a mistake out of Sean Brightsman. But I tell you what, Wesley, it is very, very rare that we see a mistake out of this 46 car, especially on the mile and a half. It's going to be hard to get past that 46 if you're Paul Newton.
Brightsman now trying to open it up to half a second. 4 or 5 car lengths now on Newton, and every time Newton runs him down in the corner, Brightsman quicker on the straightaway, Newton quicker in the corner. 10, now make it 9 to go. Here at Homestead, we're in single digits. Unofficially, if this race ended right now, Jason, Toby Ritters would transfer in by 1 point over Brett Johnson in the number 8 spot. Unofficially, if the race ended now, he would be the man to go to the number 8 spot. Wow, by 1 point.
That would be absolutely crazy. So, you know, Toby Ritters just needs to run his race, not lose anything, and Brett Johnson is just trying to run as hard as he can, catch Jeff Stabnow. But Jeff Stabnow's way up the racetrack. He's going to need a yellow if that were to happen.
8 to go. Back straightaway. Brightsman, 5 car lengths now. Interval on Newton. Newton trying to reel him in like bait on a hook. Into the corner, down to the inside from the 18 degrees to the 3 degrees on the straightaway. Precision banking. Not a lot of precision banking racing tonight, Jason. We advertised it, but not a lot of 2 and 3 and 4 wide, 5 wide racing tonight. Pretty much kind of quiet.
Yeah, kind of quiet with 7 laps to go. Just think to ourselves, we could have a caution-free race, but by the looks of it, we've had those races where we've had those yellow flags with 2 laps to go. This battle for the lead, though, starting to heat up right now. The 27, he's catching that 46 right now.
And you got to remember, desperation for a lot of these drivers that are literally looking for any moves necessary down the stretch to possibly transfer into the next round. Newton still right there in tow as they work off into turn number 3. Brightsman the leader. Coming to 5 to go, Jason.
Paul Newton all over the back bumper. That 46 almost this time by 5 laps to go at the line. The 27 looks like he's kind of found some sort of rhythm to be able to reel in this 46 again. This time, Brightsman to the bottom. Newton tries to high side, something he hasn't done a majority of the night, but he gets right up against the fence. He could put his hand out the window if he was in that passenger side. He's going to get the run down the back straightaway here. Will he go to the top? Will he go to the bottom?
Newton climbs the safer barrier, trying to set up and change lanes now. From the bottom to the top, Brightsman stays committed to the white line, up to the middle, and now to the top of the wall. To the line. 4 laps to go. Newton trying to get something to work. He's starting to climb him, but Brightsman staying committed to the inside. Newton had a run and lost it out of the corner there. He diamonded off the turn and lost the momentum off the exit there, Jason.
Yeah, he was just trying to run that top lane too aggressively, and running a line like Paul Newton is right now, that's not what you want to do. He's sliding that right rear. It's only going to hurt him more and more,
Wow.
So he needs to stick to a lane that he's going to run consistently. I'm sorry, Paul, but if you're going to run from the top and then diamond it down here at Homestead, it's just not going to work because you're going to slide that right rear tire more and more, and with the transitions over those seams there in the middle of the racetrack, it's not going to help either.
2.5 laps to go. Coming up on the deuce lap when they work their way. Working off turn 4. 2 remaining. Sean Brightsman, Toyota winner last week at Richmond to put himself into the championship round of 8. Joining Dan West Jr. from Indy. And he's trying to win 2 out of 3 races in the round of 12, Jason. Sean Brightsman, that teal green 46, looking to come to the line and get one more lap in what could be a caution-free race here tonight at virtual Homestead-Miami Speedway.
White flag is in the air. 1 lap to go here at Homestead. Sean Brightsman has been so strong here this season. Looking to get his 4th win of the season. Got one here back in the springtime. Looking to try to make it the Homestead sweep this season for the final time through 3 and 4.
He'll make it win number 4. Ty and Dan West Jr. They're both going for Team LSRTV to the next round of the round of 8. A lot of storylines going on. Another race in the history books with great virtual pages of racing history, and Sean Brightsman wins tonight here at Homestead. Winner back in March, winner here in mid-October in the playoffs. 2 out of 3 wins in the round of 12. And now the question is, who is the final 8? Who makes it in? Did Toby Ritters do enough? So many stories about to be decided, Jason, at the conclusion of a caution-free race here tonight at Virtual Homestead-Miami.
Yeah, and by the looks of it, just with everything going on here, with the playoff format, you know, I mean, it's looking like I think that Toby Ritters very well could make it in here, but we'll have to see the points here possibly after it's all said and done. Post race, and oh boy, there we go. Northwest salute, high five. It's already starting down the front stretch. Oh, Brightsman's on his lid.
Oh, Gorbley. Oh, I love the angle. Sean Brightsman. Oh, the Northwest high five salute. Tear him up from the floor up. Oh, boy. Jeff Stab now upside down 1.5 and on his roof. Look at the toe end. He's broken the tire under the chassis of the car. Sean Brightsman ain't going nowhere. That might have been the fastest high five salute in history. Here's your results. Fingers crossed. Who will make the final 6 spots? Because we know Dan West Jr. and Sean Brightsman, they're in. I intently keep hitting, Jason, the refresh button to see it. Sean Brightsman, the winner, over 3 seconds back on Paul Newton. Virtually, Paul Newton, Christopher White with a solid top 5 finish. I would say they're going to advance. Sean Brightsman, number 2. Now, 4th win of the year. Paul Newton, 2nd. Ryan Bloom is 3rd. Christopher White, 4th. Dan West Jr., the top 5. Dan West Jr., the number 1 seed, obviously coming into the race. Winner back in Indy. He will join Sean Brightsman automatically. As I said, Paul Newton, Christopher White, Ryan Bloom, Dan West Jr., Jeff Stabnow, Jason, I would probably say you'll see these guys advance by virtue of the finish in points and in this race. Johnson 7th, Ritters 8th. Is it enough for Ritters? Ryan Gormley, 9 cars on the lead lap, and Jason Stephen Paulison on the top 10, 1 lap down, brother.
Yeah, rest of the field, you have Stephen O'Hare. He's not going to make it into the round of 8, unfortunately, in a must-win situation. Doesn't get it done. Frank Harris, you see Joshua Marcy. He was practically a pinball out there here tonight. Tyler King, unfortunate for him, finishing there in the 14th position. That was a guy we had to look forward to with him and Toby Ritters. We'll see which one of those guys makes it in. John Onbach, William Fletcher. You see Burt Rogers and Chris Kynes rounding out your top 19 drivers.
And by the way, no yellow flags in this race. One more time, a look at the race summary. 9 lead changes. No cautions, no caution laps. Brought to you by Virginia811.com, reminding you, dig with care, call before you dig. Sean Brightsman, Dan West Jr., we know they're going. I keep hitting that refresh button. Stay with us. We're going to grab the podium. We'll unveil the 8 to the round of 8 after the round of 12 finale here tonight at Homestead-Miami. Winner back in March. Winner here in October. Sean Brightsman. Winner here at Homestead-Miami. And Sean Brightsman loves the pine trees. He loves the palm trees. And whether it's Texas or Homestead, he has got it done with a sweep. We'll find out who the final 8 will be when we return. Welcome back to the playoffs for the Northwest CLICKIT RV Fixed Setup Series. We will unveil the final 8 in just a moment that advance into the next round. Going into Iowa, Wesley Outland, Jason Rockefeller, Charles Wooten, phenomenal job of the booth on production. And now we grab the podium. Let's grab third place first and get the thoughts of the driver of Ryan Bloom. Ryan, 2 races this week in the podium on third. Man, you're taking this race here at Homestead-Miami. At one time, it looked like you had a really, really strong piece. And obviously, you're going to advance to the round of 8. Man, you're taking the race tonight.
Well, advancing and getting the podium, that's a good thing, I guess. But, start off strong, got the pole, start off strong, and then I don't know what happened. It just kind of fell apart. Congrats to Sean. I mean, he's awesome on these fix sets. And good job by Paul. I was keeping my eye on Dan and Sean there in that first stand, and all of a sudden Paul comes running up and challenging him for the lead. And I was just never really ever able to kind of gather up anything after that, and tried to save there at the end after the last pit stop, and thought maybe I could make a run at the end, but I just couldn't really gain any ground other than like maybe a half second or something second. But it was a fun race though. I love this track, multi grooves, although I couldn't really get the high line working like I thought I could. But overall, it was a lot of fun, and I always enjoyed running this track. Just got to get a little better in these fixed set Xfinity cars overall. But so I still think I'm there for contention to get one here soon. So just move on to the next round and have to be in the next round.
Congratulations, Ryan, on finishing third tonight, man. You were really fast on those short runs. Do you feel like you just didn't have that long run speed you talked about? Obviously, everybody catching you there on those longer runs, man. Do you feel like you were just falling off a little bit quicker than most guys?
Yeah, I was, and I was even backing up kind of trying to back up my entries in that first stint, try to take it easy on the tires, and something obviously I need to fix there on the long runs. It's kind of been how it is all year. Kind of start out strong and then either have an issue or just kind of fall off pace. So definitely something to work on. But Sean is he's always good. So wish I could learn a thing or two from him. That definitely helped me.
Well, you got a chance to win 2 championships, advance to the round of 8, buddy. Before I let you go, Ryan, thank your sponsors, bud.
Yeah, I just want to thank CLICKIT RV. Once again, having them on board for the series. It's been great having them this year and sponsoring our team. Thanks to Win Racing. Helped me out there. Had Dennis and Kevin jump on board, do a little spotting for me. So I appreciate that. And good job by Toby. I know he didn't make the final 8, but strong season for him. Proud of him and the effort he put in this year. And LSRTV, great job as always. And just want to thank Jeff and Sean once again for putting on the series and all the admins and what they do.
Ryan Bloom finishing third tonight. Chevrolet, by the way, Ford, Toyota, top 3 on the podium as well. And for Win Racing, Ryan Bloom will finish third. Paul Newton, the Paul Newton Designs 27 3/4 back at the finish on Sean Brightsman for second. Nothing wrong with silver, Paul, especially for somebody that's really got a background of road course racing as an ace in the whole. Man, you're really showing your strengths in running these ovals lately. How fun has it been this year, and your thoughts of being second and advancing also to the round of 8?
A lot of questions at once there. Really happy to advance to the round of 8. This season's been incredible. Just figuring out these cars. I think I have a lot more fun in these Xfinity cars than I had in the trucks last year. They move around so much more, and they're just a blast to drive. And second today, not quite what I was hoping for. I had the lead there in that middle stint, and I thought that I might be able to have the tire advantage on him there at the end. But Sean just, he's the best at making adjustments to his day and getting the best out of it. So congrats to Sean. It was great racing with him tonight, great racing with Ryan. Just awesome night all around.
And congratulations, obviously, Paul, on running P2, man. I talked about with Wesley there. towards the end of the race, you were kind of starting to trying to the diamond effect off those corners right there. And I kept saying, no, don't do that. Don't do that. You're just going to slide the right rear more, and you're not going to be able to get ground up. Were you just trying to throw everything but the kitchen sink at Sean right there at the end, trying to catch him?
Yeah, pretty much. Sean was kind of taking my line away there, and that was the one line I was using perfection all night. So when it went away, I just had to find something. And I tried up high, I tried diamonding like you said, and there's just nothing doing anywhere but the bottom for me tonight. So good on Sean to recognize that was my only strength and to take that away from me. So that was what today was like.
Paul Newton, segue this with your sponsors, man. How intense is it going to be now moving to the round of 8 to try to make the championship 4?
It's going to be real intense. I don't know that I entered this season expecting to do that good, but runs like tonight and some of the other ones I've had at ovals lately just really encouraged me, thinking I can get in that top 4 and maybe even get that championship somehow, some way. But I want to thank PaulNewtonDesign.com, Trading Paints, Peels California Mandarins, and the boys with Beaver State Racing. We had the full fleet tonight, and it's good racing with those guys. They're really pros. And I also want to thank Northwest Racing Series, LSRTV, and CLICKIT RV. Thanks, everybody.
There you go. There's the thoughts of Paul Newton, the road course king. He'll be the number 3 seed, by the way, up 1 spot to advance into the championship round of 8 going into Iowa next week. Victory Lane, Sean Brightsman. He won back in March here at Homestead. He has a habit of winning repetitively on the schedule multiple times. 2 out of 3 wins in the round of 12 for the original driver from Puyallup, Washington, now from Tucson, Arizona. Sean, obviously momentum for you, former Cup Series champion, and now looking to lock up a B Series title. But to do that, you advance to the round of 8. You're taking the race tonight and winning.
Oh man, Wesley, what a race! I was kind of out to lunch there for the first 2 stints and tried to study Paul. Really, is all I had to do there. Once I kind of saw his line and was able to kind of see what he was doing, made that adjustment there after the second stint and did the undercut, I believe.
Yeah.
So got the lead there and just tried to manage the pace so that way I didn't burn off the tires.
And congratulations, Sean, on not only another win here this year, but sweeping Homestead for the season for these fixed setup cars. And man, oh man, talk about the round of 8 heading into it. How do you feel like your shots are to make the final 4 and then go win that championship, man? Because you've been really strong all season.
I feel pretty confident. I mean, it's, one bad race can take you out of it. I mean, I feel confident in my abilities and to show up and learn at the track while we're racing. So I feel confident there, but it's racing and anything can happen. So we got some good tracks here in the next 3 races, Iowa, Kentucky, and Vegas. All should be, I'm going to think that they're all going to be barn burners and a lot of excitement, especially getting into the championship race at Auto Club. So hopefully I make it into that, but feeling pretty confident for it.
So, Sean, final question, segue this into thanking your sponsors is Jason and I will look forward to unveiling the final 8 here in just a moment. I know everybody's intently waiting for it. 4 wins now, tied with your partner and teammate Dan West Jr. Would you say, though, that you've got the momentum on your side now for Team LSRTV to make the run to the title?
I do feel like I have a little bit more momentum just from tonight. Dan was a little off there. Jeff was a little off as well, but really it just comes to practice, right? So these guys put in some time. I didn't put any, so I didn't have any major lingering effects from the night before or anything like that. So they just kind of were out to lunch on the way the track ran and the tire fall off with it and kind of what the car needed for the long run. So overall, I think right now, yeah, I have a little bit of a competitive advantage, or at least some confidence there to be the head team LSRTV guy.
Sponsors.
I got to thank Bright's Boutique, CLICKIT RV for sponsoring the whole Northwest Racing Series, LSRTV, Blenders Eyewear, Swag Golf, and everybody at the Northwest Racing Series, admins, drivers committee, drivers that show up. Appreciate you all, and hopefully we have some more drivers next week.
Who are the 8 drivers to join now the number 1 seed of Sean Brightsman. But by the way, his 4th win, 10 top 5s and 13 top 10s. We take a very quick break. Jason and I unveil the 8 drivers moving into the championship semifinals when we come back from Homestead-Miami. Welcome back, and a quick transition, if you will, and now what we've all been waiting for. I think some people kind of know, if you're able to look at the information like we are, Jason. I'm not going to lie to you, brother. I was intently hitting that refresh button over and over and over and over again while handling post-race. Now we can unveil it officially now, as we move into the semifinals, the round of 8, which will begin next, of course, Wednesday night at Iowa Speedway, Kentucky, Las Vegas. Those are your next 3 rounds in the round of 8. Whoever wins those rounds will advance to the championship 4 drivers at Auto Club Speedway on November 15th. Now, those drivers that have advanced include, obviously, as I aforementioned, Sean Brightsman, 4th win of the year. Dan West Jr., 3 back, Jason, 3. He's in the number 2 spot. We told you throughout the race, even if they would have won or lost, those guys were going to transfer regardless. Good efforts by Paul Newton. Again, runner-up tonight in 2nd. He moves into the number 3 spot, tied with Christopher White. This is a man that I would say might be the dark horse, Jason. He's a man on a mission, a former Northwest Cup Series champion. He can't run the Monday Truck Series. He got through into this steel commitment full-time. He wants to win the title right now. He's the number 4 seed. Up 3 spots, Ryan Bloom. Of course, carrying that momentum in the last week with 2 top 3 finishes on the podium. Good run for him in the trucks and the series. Team LSRTV. Jeff Stabnow will advance, of course, with his 4 top 5s, 11 top 10s, a consistent season for only 1 win this year for the driver of Jeff Stabnow, Jason. How about the prodigy, the guy that I always talk highly of in his rookie year? Ryan Gormley is going to the final championship 8 semifinals. He's the number 7 seed. And as it came down to Ritters, Johnson, O'Hare, and King, defending Truck Series champion of last year, Jason, Tyler King, took the final spot of 8. Toby Ritters missed it by 17 points. Brett Johnson, 1 point behind Toby Ritters. There was a valiant effort made by them. They just came up short. Your thoughts, buddy?
Yeah, and I talked about it too, just at the time. I couldn't see Toby Ritters or Brett Johnson making it in. They were back by more than 20 points coming into tonight. They needed to practically win, and for one of those guys very close to the bubble to basically wreck early in the race and finish towards the back. So, heartbreaker for Toby Ritters and Brett Johnson. They've been doing so good since we came back, obviously. But hey, there's next year. They were not in a bad way. They were mid-tier drivers in the beginning of the season. Now you take them from Daytona back in February to now in mid-October. Those 2 guys have been 2 of the most improved drivers, I'd say, out of about 5 drivers in this series currently as of right now in this moment. So they have next year. Work on their racecraft. I'm sure enough they will compete for a title next year. But Tyler King, man, if it wasn't for him having those issues later on in that race, if it would have happened earlier, we might be talking about something different, maybe a caution. Maybe this race would have played out a little bit differently. Low car count definitely was a factor, but hey, these are the best drivers right now that have made the final 8 drivers, and this is going to be very interesting these next 3-4 weeks.
I propose a toast to the 8 drivers that are advancing to the semifinals, and then, of course, for the guys like Ritters, Johnson, O'Hare, and Devin West that are out of the race.
I got the
for
milk. There's
sure.
the milk.
You got the milk. Hey, it's like a milk. You gotta have the milk. I don't have milk. I have soda. But obviously, yes. But for drivers that are on the outside looking in, I toast all of them for sure. So, man, listen, I think we're going to see some awesome races. What the hell are you doing?
You did it. I won the Indy 500.
Yeah, back to what I was saying, though. I think the semifinal races, Jason, are going to be highly interesting, and it starts off next week, obviously, at Iowa Speedway, Kentucky, Las Vegas. 3 very unique racetracks. I think we're going to see now, mind you, they're both 1.5 miles, but they're different in configuration, and I think these are perfect races to determine who will go to that 2-mile oval D-shaped Auto Club Speedway to determine the championship in mid-November.
These are going to be some very interesting tracks coming up here these next 3 weeks. I mean, Iowa is one of my favorite tracks to run on iRacing. It's multi-groove. Obviously the tire wear is so crucial there. And with these Xfinity Series cars, we haven't seen these things back on track now for quite a few years. I think the last time the Xfinity Series ran, if I'm correct, was back in 2019. At the Iowa Speedway. And now they're coming back next year with the Cup Series, might I add. I think it's going to be a fun one next weekend, and I'm looking forward to these next 3 and 4 races.
Going to be a fun one. Got to be a fun one as always. Hey, before I go out any further, congratulations are in order. Jason, somebody you work with as well as I work with on Monday night. I think I mentioned it on Monday. He's finally started, along with his wife, posting pictures on social media. Terry Radford, one of our members on the broadcast team for LSRTV, they gave birth to a beautiful baby. And congratulations to the entire Radford family, beautiful baby girl, and Terry, you got your hands full. That's all I'm going to tell you for sure. A beautiful baby brought into the world by the Radford family. Congratulations to them on the new edition. Of course, that's why Terry was not with us on Monday. And, of course, just want to present that out there. Iowa Speedway next Wednesday night. By the way, if you're keeping count of the playoffs, we're also in the round of 8 for the Northwest Truck Series. And we will be at Kentucky and Iowa next week. Jason, your final take, everything, buddy. Highly entertaining race, caution-free, but this race had plenty of strategy. And again, I salute those drivers that made it into the championship semifinal 8, round of 8 from the round of 12. And for those that got eliminated, don't give up. There's always next year. And hey, there's still a chance to try to win a race or two before the season's done.
Yeah, absolutely, Wesley. I mean, and I will say that I think this race, a majority played out the way it did because of this low car count. Again, we're used to 28, 30-something cars every single week here. The fact that we had 19, I think that's been like the lowest car count we've had all season long. So it definitely played a factor. We might be talking about different guys in the round of 8 had we have had more cars, but you had to deal with what you had to deal with tonight. It is what it is. That's what they say. It is what it is. That's all you can deal with, you know. It is what it is, but, great race. I love this track so much, and, these cars are such a handful to drive here. I am not the best with them, but I definitely love driving them here just because of how hard they are here to drive. And like I said, I'm looking forward to these next 3 weeks, and then obviously that championship race at one of my favorite tracks of all time. I love that place, Auto Club Speedway. Sad it's getting taken down, reconfigured, but we have iRacing.
One more look at the virtual Homestead-Miami Speedway. What a show it put on. Sean Brightsman, Dan West Jr., Paul Newton, Christopher White, Ryan Bloom, Jeff Stabnow, Ryan Gormley, and Tyler King. In case you missed the memo, they transfer into the round of 8 from the semifinals tonight from the round of 12 finale. And, of course, Sean Brightsman, 2 out of 3 wins at Dan West Jr. with the winner at Indianapolis. Richmond Homestead tonight going to Sean Brightsman. Iowa, Kentucky, Las Vegas, all on the way. And we'll have it for you on the coverage of Rocket Racing Media, iRacing on LSRTV, and CRN for the radio call. As always, thanks to Jeff Stabnow, Sean Brightsman, everybody with the Northwest Racing Series, Jeff Stabnow, Charles Wooten with Rocket Racing Media and iRacing on LSRTV and CRN. For Jason Rockefeller, this is Wesley Outland. Thanks for joining us tonight at Virtual Homestead. The palm trees swaying. Sean Brightsman sweeping it here this year on the virtual mile and a half. And now we prepare for Iowa in the cornfields next Wednesday night. Be good to one another. Enjoy the rest of your week.